r/AskReddit, nsfw, have you ever seen a normally calm person completely lose their sh*t? What happened? I had a friend who was in his 60s, a functioning alcoholic, but he was the most calm and composed guy I have ever known. He never used to raise his voice or swear. Everything was done with meticulous precision. He once explained to me that if you use vulgar language and shout all the time, then you will have nowhere to go when you really do get angry. I had worked with him for about 3 years, never heard him raise his voice or swear before. The week before, he had been shafted on his pay and the manager promised to get it sorted by Friday. Friday rolled around and it had not been sorted. So when my friend walked up to the manager in the open office and declared loudly, "Where the fuck is my money? You promised this would be resolved." The whole office went silent and the look of dread on the manager's face was haunting. The money was in his account by the end of the day. That was him losing his shit. Edit, spelling. Quit the job on the spot. He went out of the office showing the finger to everyone and telling us to go fuck ourselves. Nice dude. I miss him. One time in high school, a couple bullies were up in this other kid's face. Dude was just sitting there like Anton Chigurh or PVT. Pile, no expression, and staring straight ahead, clearly not hearing a thing. One of the bullies inched closer, and the kid decked him as hard as he could in the face. The bully was knocked to the floor, speechless with his nose bleeding everywhere. The kid then calmly stood up, still with no emotion, calmly packed his things, and made his own way to the principal's office as if nothing at all had happened. It's still one of the most brutal things I've ever seen. It was like right out of a movie. I was chilling at a friend's house as a kid. His dad was the chillest, nicest guy. That day, my friend's mom, also super nice, was across the street talking to the neighbor about something that I can no longer recall. Neighbor was one of those guys who never respected common etiquette, music blaring, parking his shitty boat in front of other people's house, cars parked on the lawn. The neighbor started screaming at our mom and we all went out on the stoop to see what was happening. As soon as we got outside, the guy called my friend's mom a cunt. Well, my friend's dad heard that and went full Hulk mode. He ran screaming across the street and just fucking decked the guy and crouched over him shouting warnings and threats. Took a while for his wife to calm him down. I don't think any of them had ever seen him react to something in that way, maybe even the dad himself. I used to do seasonal work sorting tax returns. Like, 500 people in a warehouse-size room sorting through returns, stacking them in boxes, etc. This one guy on my team, huge dude, a gentle giant, really nice. Suddenly one day he smashes the table he's working at, then flips a big box full of paperwork. It flew over my head and 20 feet away. He threw the table out of his way, them stormed out. Turns out he was getting his paycheck garnished for something or other. One of my teachers in high school was the calmest dude. Never yelled, never told kids off, would just laugh and smile and wait for us all to calm down and then continue with his teaching. One day we must have been particularly rowdy and we weren't calming down like we usually did. He couldn't get a word in edgeways. I could see him getting increasingly frustrated and eventually he just bellowed "Shut up" and the entire class was shocked into silence. He never had to do it again. LMAO. Mechanic I worked with is getting verbally abused by a customer claiming he ripped him off. Guy's going off saying all sorts of racist shit, then stepped up like he was gonna swing. Henry beat him to the punch, literally. Then he calmly walked to the back office and called the cops on himself. One of my co-workers is a really calm, quiet, easygoing dude. We had a receptionist at the time who was terrible. Would constantly leave the front desk phones unattended, we would have to stop mid-service to answer them ourselves and check people in and out. One day, she pulls her same bullshit. The phones are ringing, people waiting, and she's nowhere to be seen. He just does a big sigh, and screams her name in the loudest, angriest, most fed up I am fucking done scream. She scurried her trifling little ass back up to the front in seconds like a little cockroach that knew it fucked up. I worked as a line cook with a chef who I became really good friends with. Really chill dude, easygoing, and actually super fun to cook with. He taught me most of what I know about cooking and I owe him a lot for my success. Never really saw him get mad until one day, we were getting slammed during busy night and one of the servers said something that really ticked him off, not sure if I ever heard what it was, but next thing I knew he had sent the deep fryer basket flying at Mach 1 across the kitchen, nearly missing the dish kit and shattering a light bulb. He stormed off and 5 minutes later after a smoke break, came back and casually continued cooking as if nothing had happened. He apologized about it the next day and we never talked about it again. The restaurant industry is a stressful place. This is not my story but my dad's. Growing up his best friend Leaf was a quiet, shy guy that was a bit socially awkward. In school he wasn't physically bullied but this one kid teased him constantly. This would have been late 50s, early 60s so kids were expected to just tough it out. My dad would usually confront the kid but one day a girl runs up to him and says that Leaf and the kid are fighting. My dad runs over to save Leaf but when he breaks through the circle he finds the bully flat on his back, Leaf sitting on his chest, holding him by the ears and smashing his head into the pavement over and over. My dad tackles him, wrestles him to the ground and screams at him, asking what he's doing. The thing that stayed with me from that story was how he described it. It was like there was nothing in there, I felt like I could see the back of his skull through his eyes. Luckily they were kids so the damage was serious but limited, the bully escaped with stitches and a concussion and Leaf had to talk to the school psychologist. My dad and Leaf stayed best friends and when I met him as an adult he was still quiet but less shy and awkward. My math teacher in middle school. He would even brag about not being angry, and how it was a useless emotion. One day this kid pissed him off so bad he swiped all of the kids' shit off of the table in front of the whole class and kicked him out. This was probably about 12 years ago or so. My best friend broke up a fight between two of his younger brothers. I was scared shitless. His voice hit a tone I'd never heard up to that point, and have never heard since. Worked with a guy at scout camp who was in charge of the archery range. Super quiet and reserved guy, very nice and down to earth. One day we had a scout draw his bow and point it at one of his friends as a joke. I've never seen a kid get the fear of God put in him so fast after my friend ripped him apart for that. Firearms are no joke. I used to see this woman in my building every day. Very friendly. We always checked on each other's lives. We had lunch a few times over the years. It was friendly to a certain degree. A couple years passed. She was much older than me. One day, riding the elevator, she told me that she was saying goodbye. I said I was sorry to see her go and asked why. She said she was retiring that day. I asked if her office was throwing a party or if she was celebrated. She turned to me and her face contorted into an image of rage. She clenched her teeth and said she didn't tell anyone in her office, including her bosses. She only told the HR person last week. This was her last day and she was never returning to see or talk to anyone in her office again. When I was in my late teens I was financially irresponsible and borrowed money from my grandparents to move out of my mom's house. We made a plan on how I would pay it back in installments and I only missed 2 payments. With each one I called my granddad and asked if it was okay. He was always cool about it. One day I got a call from him and he was livid. Screaming at me on the phone and I could hear my grandmother crying in the background. He was the angriest I've ever heard anyone in my life and I was terrified. He wanted to know why I hadn't made the payment that month, but I was sure I had. It turns out I had accidentally set the automated payment to be drawn from the wrong account and it hadn't done it. It was an honest mistake on my part, and I explained that to him. I transferred the money immediately and he instantly calmed down. I later found out he had become an alcoholic after he quit smoking, and he would talk to my grandmother like that regularly when no one was around. Boy, do I have a story. I've been in the USCG for a few years now, and along the way I met a really calm guy. We'll call him Joe. Joe had a wife and 2 daughters. He's soft-spoken yet still authoritative when need be. Always is nice to others and works very hard. Then there's another worker, we'll call her Jill. Jill is a power trip, annoying, loud, disrespectful to anyone lower ranking than her, always talking about her, definitely fake, see stories, and what we call a blue falcon. I could go on for days about her. Anyways, one day on duty, Joe and his crew were out on a rescue case for over 6 hours throughout the whole night. Him and the crew got back to the station at 2 or 3 a.m. They were so tired they collapsed on the couches in the lounge, which is connected to the conference/training room, which is divided by a folding partition you can pull out of the wall. Well, morning came and there was a note on door to the big room: crew is sleeping from late night case. Do not disturb. Of course, Jill completely ignored the note, busted into the room, turned on all the lights, talking and laughing way too damn loud at 7:30 in the morning. She started to tell a ridiculous story which always starts with "so when I was stationed," and immediately Joe shoots up like a rocket from the couch and walks towards the partition in the wall, mumbling shit under his breath like "goddamn fucking shit, fucking note on the door." He was vigorously fighting the partition, yanking it from the wall and pulling it across the 20-foot-long rail. Jill is watching him, and as he's almost done she goes, "I can leave if you want." Completely unwarranted, Joe says that's what the fucking door is for. He closes the partition and lays back down. No one said a word, but I think everyone gained a little more respect for Joe that day. My mom. We had what we now refer to as the Jerry Springer Christmas when I was 7 or so. One aunt hated her sister-in-law and started screaming at her, then shoving started, husbands got involved, then it just continued to devolve from there. My mom went straight into mediator mode and tried to calm everyone down, but it wasn't working. She decided to come check on us kids and found my cousin and me holding each other and sobbing because we were scared. The next thing I hear is her scary mom voice screaming over everyone, "Listen here, you motherfuckers. My kid is in there crying on Christmas because her family can't keep their shit together for the one day a year we all see each other. You're gonna march your asses into that room single file and apologize to each kid individually, then you're going to shut the hell up until I get them out of here. We're going to go find look at lights, and this family better be the picture of goddamn Christmas joy by the time we get back." My mom never really cussed in front of me and only ever used GD when things were really bad. That side of the family didn't celebrate Christmas for a few years after that. Edit. Thank you for the awards and kind words. Ma is tickled pink at all of the comments about how wonderful she is. I tell her every day how lucky I am to have her. I fear the rage of quiet people because I don't have any reference on how they go mad. Edit. Grammar. My 5th grade teacher was a very calm and collected individual, except one time when a kid said her mother was a whore. She lost it. She was screaming about disrespect and stuff and even called her mom, put her on speaker and asked if she was a whore. In front of the whole class. I miss her LMAO. My first semester in college I was in a math class with a horrible teacher. The entire class hated him. The girl that sat in front of me was very sweet and soft-spoken. One day, I don't remember what set her off, but she just snapped and started screaming at him. It caused such a commotion that someone called security to check if everything was okay. The teacher quickly dismissed security and went back to teaching like nothing had happened. My mom and I had a fight about finances, life, and everything when the financial crisis of 2008 started to affect us. We were shouting at each other every hurt and everything from birth till that day. Things started to fly. It was carnage. My sister grabbed my mom and pushed her to sit down next to me while scolding us about our behavior. Then she slapped both of us on the face, so we were totally stunned and shut up. Then she went on talking about how we a family should keep it together in dire times instead of fighting each other. Oh, I have a good one for this. So during my previous, pre-pandemic job, I worked with a really talented, super nice manager named James, who was a total professional and very good with customers. He's one of those guys you look at and from sheer physical size you'd think he could easily be a bouncer, but he's just an absolute teddy bear of a human being. Didn't matter what changes came down from the top of the company or how business was going, dude just soldiered on as a beacon of positivity. Never got visibly mad or upset, he was pure Teflon to bad news. But one day I get a call from a janitorial service we contracted with to do a lot of the deeper cleaning at our facility. During this call they asked me to confirm that we have 2 day shifts and 1 overnight shift cleaning our building. I don't know why this came up exactly, but it was puzzling since we only ever had 1 day cleaning shift and 1 overnight cleaning shift, and this had been the case ever since I began working at that particular location, probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years by this point. They kept insisting that I must be mistaken and that surely there was a second shift during the day that I was just missing. However, I was the guy who had to regularly review their work and submit this feedback to the contracted company, so I was 100% certain that we only ever had the 1 day shift. Eventually, I put them on hold and informed James of this, and like a switch the dude completely changed his attitude. Gone was the James who always had a smile on his face and never let anything get to him. In his place arrived a stone-faced mountain of a man who asked me to let him talk to these people. I give him the phone, he goes into his office, and I watch through the window as he becomes increasingly animated, maybe even to the point of outright yelling, as the truth comes out that we had been being charged for this second daytime janitorial shift that had never actually existed. Was like watching a teddy bear turn into a grizzly in the span of 3 minutes. Dude was able to move past it and return to his normal self after the call, but while he was on it I could tell he was just incensed by the fact we were being billed for services we weren't actually receiving. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you have enjoyed this video and subscribe to never miss an upload.